It's surprising the amount of bad advice and bad ideas we're taught growing up about how to build wealth and how to make money. Odds are you were probably taught about the same thing that I was taught growing up, which is you go to school so you can get good grades, so you can go to a good college, so you can get a good job and buy a big house and, live your dream life. And that's kind of the general formula we're taught, is that you need to work so that you can spend that money you earned working to go buy the things you want. And if you want more things, well, then you just need to work more so you can go buy those things. And it's kind of absurd and ridiculous for the amount of time we spend in school, how little we're actually taught about how to build wealth. We think we're going to school to learn about how to build wealth, but in reality, we're going to school to learn about how to be an employee. But odds are, with the employee strategy we're taught in school, you're gonna actually just end up in a ton of debt, working a job that you hate, and you're gonna be stuck in a vicious cycle that you can't escape, because that's the way that this strategy works. It locks you into this weird vicious cycle where you hate your job, you wanna quit, but you can't quit because you have all these bills to pay and you have all this debt you have to pay. So you have to keep working in a job you hate because you didn't have this really small, really simple piece of knowledge that they really should teach in school, but for some reason they don't, about how to actually build wealth the correct way. The traditional way to earn money we're taught in school is you need to trade your time directly for money. And the more valuable you make your time, the more money you can earn, which is why you need to go to college and make yourself a valuable asset so you can be worth more per your time and earn more money with your 8-hour days. The problem with this scenario is that your time is a finite resource. So there's really only two ways to actually make more money if you're trading your time for money. And the first way is to spend more time working. And the second way we just talked about, and that's to increase your value per hour. And that's really how 99% of people will tackle that problem. They'll say, I either need to work extra hours or work overtime or work a little bit of time on the weekend, or I need to find a job that's gonna pay me more. But this isn't the correct way to build wealth, and this isn't how wealthy people build their wealth. They actually use a completely different playbook and a completely different strategy. And when I started my journey to try to make $1 million in a year, I was stuck in this same mindset where I was trying to exchange my time for money. And I had gotten really good at exchanging my time for money where, within the first 6 months of my journey, I was able to make $80,000, which was insane. But I was still stuck in that same trap where I was exchanging my time for money. I'd run out of time. I didn't know how to pull in any extra time to make any more money. And so I was kind of stuck in this vicious cycle. And then one night while I was driving, I was listening to a book called Richest Man in Babylon. I'd heard about the book because I was on Clubhouse, if you guys remember Clubhouse, which was only around, it felt like it was a really big deal for like a little bit there, but then it kind of died away. But I was on Clubhouse one night with like a bunch of these really crazy ballers, and I was listening to all these ballers talk because I got an early invite to Clubhouse, and they were all talking about this book called Richest Man in Babylon. And I was like, man, they all really like this book. So I ended up downloading it and listening to it. And that book absolutely changed my perspective on how to build wealth. The book's essentially a set of ancient stories and parables on how to build wealth and how to become wealthy. And it proposes the idea that the wealthy use a completely different strategy to build their wealth than what we all use as normal everyday people. Instead of following the classic method we're taught, which is where you work hard and exchange your time for money and then you spend that money on the things you want, they work hard at the beginning, sure, where maybe they're exchanging their time for money. But where it changes is how they use that money. While the average person would take that money and then use it to buy the things they want, the wealthy person or the future wealthy person would take that money and they would put it to work for them. So that while they're sleeping, their money is out working hard for them. They described it as your money making baby monies. And then those baby monies grow up, get older, and they make more baby monies. And so your money keeps multiplying and multiplying and multiplying till it's eventually bringing in more money from itself, from its work, than you ever were making working a job. And maybe the difference is really subtle and you're not quite catching it. Average people work hard for money and then spend their money on the toys they want. Wealthy people also work hard for money, but instead of buying toys, they put their money to work and employ it so that they eventually don't have to work anymore. In the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, he says it like this: you want to spend the money you earn working in a job to buy assets, and then those assets produce passive income, and then with that passive income, you pay for your lifestyle. It's such a simple and such a subtle shift, but mastering that technique is how you build build ridiculous amounts of wealth. And during my journey, when I understood this and like it clicked for me, this was an absolute game changer. I stopped focusing on all the different things I was doing to work and started putting the money I was earning to work for me. And in the first 6 months of me doing my 1 to 1 million project, I was able to bring in around $80,000 through doing a bunch of manual work, right? Where I was out there working. And by year 2, the second month of year 2, in 1 month, I made $60,000 passively. So I made almost as much as I made during the first 6 months of me doing the 1 to 1 million project in 1 month passively, because instead of focusing on continuing to work, I'd put my money to work for me. In my first entire year for the 1 to 1 million experiment, I went from 0 income to making $147,000 in a year, which was amazing. Now contrast that to month 4 of year 2 of my journey, where in 1 month I was able to bring in over $200,000, and most of that, the majority of that, was purely passive income. Meaning I made more in 1 month than I had made in the entire previous year. And the reason I was able to do that is it wasn't because I had a ridiculous amount of time, because I went out there and worked really hard. It was because I had my money out there working really hard. It was doing things that I couldn't do. It was working all day, 24/7, 7 days a week, while I wasn't working. I had put my money to work for me in really smart areas and really smart places, and it was generating income passively in return. And the time it took me to make that $200,000 during that 1 month was probably around 5 hours of my time. I spent 5 hours and was able to make $200,000, and obviously that's a really above average level of return where I did really, really good that month. And that's probably not a normal expected return on my investment, but it just shows you the power and the amount of leverage you have putting your money to work for you rather than you going out there and exchanging your time for money. And imagine I'd never learned that. And maybe during my journey, instead of me investing my money or putting my money to work for me, I was just spending it on things I wanted to do. I was going to Disneyland, or I was going on these crazy vacations, or I was buying boats or cars or different things like that. And so all the money I was making during my journey, imagine if I was just spending it. There's no way I would have made that $60,000 in a single month. And there's no way I would have made that $200,000 in a single month, because I would have been taking my money and spending it. I wouldn't have had that leverage and that ability to put my money to work for me, so it could have made me those big returns. In fact, I'm not really sure there's a job out there where I could spend 5 hours and make $200,000. That's around $40,000 an hour. And I just don't think there's any way I could have made myself valuable enough to be worth $40,000 an hour. And the funnest and the best part about creating income this way and building wealth this way is today, if I were to shut down this YouTube channel and I were to just stop working and I were to go live in the rainforest with, like in some cool tree fort and, like sip the dew of the leaves or something, I would still be making about 90% of the money I'm making each month, because it's money I make in my sleep. It's money isn't tied to my work. It isn't tied to anything that I do actively. But if I was working at a traditional job and I stopped working for a month, my boss would fire me. I would get fired, I wouldn't make a dime, and I would have nothing to show for it. And there really is no reason that anyone couldn't get started on this strategy. Really, all it takes is, instead of taking your earned income and spending it on the things you want, pay your bills, do all that stuff, right? But then take the excess and use it to buy assets. Now, of course, the hard part is actually knowing where to put your money to work, what assets to buy to generate passive income. And I'm not gonna lie or kind of sugarcoat it. That is a difficult thing to figure out most of the time. There's people that their entire careers is figuring out good places to put money where it could be working for them. Some really simple examples would be putting it to work in the stock market, investing in cryptos, real estate, Airbnb, or even starting a business that you put the systems in place that it doesn't require your direct time to run and operate that business, but you hire the right people to run that business for you, so it's not directly tied to your time. It's definitely not easy, but if you give it the dedication and drive you gave in school to getting into college, or you gave in school to passing college, I'm sure you'll figure out good places to put your money to work for you. I have a lot of good ideas in my channel where you can, check out those ideas, check out how they work, and see if they're a good fit for what you're wanting to do. And just kind of imagine in your head, like, how cool would it be to not have to work, to not be a slave to your job where you can't quit, you can't stop working, but you actually could say, hey, I don't want to work at this job anymore, and I'm making enough passive income that I don't have to. I could go live and camp in Utah, or I could go climb a mountain in Colorado, or I could go live in the Bahamas, or go explore across Europe for a couple months, or whatever you want to do with your life. You could follow those passions because you have have the freedom and ability to do that because you have passive income that's generating income for you each month without you having to do anything to earn it. I don't know, that sounds all really cool to me, and that's of course my dream and my vision is like, I just wanna spend more time with my family, I just wanna spend more time with my kids, I just wanna travel and be able to do things without having to always worry about money or worry about how I'm gonna make income or different things like that. It's not easy, it does require a lot of learning, but the strategy and the idea and the concept's dead simple. And definitely, you know, even if it's just the stock market, even if it's just investing in stocks, it's definitely something worth getting started and learning and growing with. If this video is helpful, make sure to hit that like button. And if you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comments below, and I try to go through and answer as many of those as I can. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and you gotta hit the little bell next to it if you want to actually be notified each time I release a video. This channel is all about different ideas or ways to produce passive income. That's my journey, that's my mission that I'm on, and I don't always succeed at it, but I'm just kind of sharing everything I'm learning and everything I'm stumbling across as I stumble across it, and so you can take it or leave it, you know, if you think it's a good idea to or not. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.